Okay, so today we're diving into something a little different. We're looking at a YouTube video, and it's called All My Insane Manifestation Stories, which prove law of attraction is real.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's by a YouTuber who goes by SimoneSquared. And, whether or not you've tried this whole manifestation thing or you're just kind of curious about why it's so popular, I think this video is really interesting because it's basically a bunch of personal stories about, the idea that your thoughts and what you believe can actually affect what happens in your life.
Yeah.
So in this deep dive, we're not trying to say if manifestation is real or not, but what we want to do is really dig into these specific experiences that SimoneSquared shares in the video, like see if we can find any patterns or, just get a better understanding of this whole idea just based on these firsthand accounts. Because like she says, some of these stories are pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, approaching it from that angle, I think is really interesting, just like looking at the human experience rather than trying to prove like a scientific law or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing how these anecdotes like kind of fit into the bigger picture.
Exactly. And it's like the range of situations too. She talks about everything from career choices to relationships to like even winning games. So there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the first story. So she talks about being in grade 12 and kind of feeling drawn to film directing, but not totally sure if it was the right path. Like that classic, what am I going to do with my life moment that everyone has.
Right.
And she says she like asked the universe for a sign.
Okay.
So here's where it gets interesting. She remembers walking her dog one day, and she specifically says that this wasn't something she did regularly. And on this particular day, she took a different route than her usual shortcut.
Okay, so like a change in her routine.
Exactly. And that's like a key part of how she sees what happens next. Like it makes it seem more significant, less like a random thing.
Right.
So on this different path, like right there on an island in the middle of the road, she finds a pamphlet and the title, Why You Should Be a Film Director and How to Break into the Film Industry. I mean, come on.
Wow. That's pretty specific.
Right. You can't make this stuff up. She says she was totally shocked at first. And even though part of her was like, okay, this is just a coincidence, she couldn't shake this feeling that it meant something.
That makes sense, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
Our brains are always trying to find meaning, especially when we're already focused on a certain question or, like, really want something. It's like confirmation bias,
Totally.
When we're looking for something, we're way more likely to see it and remember it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a random pamphlet.
Right.
Statistically, they're probably out there. But because she was thinking about film directing, it became this huge sign for her.
Yeah. It makes you think about all the things we probably miss when we're not actively looking for an answer.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next story she tells is about trying to get into this super specific private school program. It was for like gifted and talented visual arts kids. Oh, wow.
And she makes it clear that it was super competitive. Only 10 spots and something like 400 applicants. And on top of that, her grades weren't amazing. So like objectively, her chances weren't good.
Yeah, I mean, just statistically, that's a tough one.
Right. But what's really interesting is how she talks about not just her own desire to get in, but her mom's involvement too.
Okay, yeah.
Her mom was all in, like researching bus routes, practicing the commute, all that practical stuff before she even got accepted, and like constant positive affirmations. You're going to get in. You're going to get in.
Wow.
And then guess what? Against all odds, she gets in.
No way.
Yeah. And she totally believes it happened because of their belief and like really focusing on that goal.
It makes you wonder, though, like how much of it was the belief and how much was the mom's actions, Because all that prep work might have made her less nervous and like more confident for interviews or whatever.
Right.
It's hard to separate the two. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like even when we think it's some unseen force, there might be actual real world things happening too. Okay, let's move on to something a little lighter. Manifesting friendships. This one's kind of funny. So she made a list of people she wanted to be friends with, and Kelly Stamps was on it. You know Kelly Stamps.
Yeah, big online personality.
Yeah. So she puts Kelly on this list, and then a couple months later, she leaves a comment on one of Kelly's posts, just like a normal comment, and Kelly messages her.
What?
Yeah, and they actually become friends.
Crazy.
So she's like, see? I put it out there, and it happened.
I mean, I guess it makes sense that kind of thing is easier now with social media, Back in the day, you couldn't just DM a celebrity. But now it's not that unheard of. So maybe the list was like a subconscious motivator.
Hmm.
It made her more likely to actually reach out and leave that comment.
Yeah, maybe it's like the intention led to the action that led to the outcome. Now, the stories about manifesting romantic relationships, these are where things get really specific and maybe a little hard to believe for some people. So after a breakup, she makes this super detailed list of what she wants in her next boyfriend. And she wants a royal and a feminist boyfriend. Like super specific.
Wow. Okay.
I know, right? And get this. 2 weeks later, she gets a DM from a verified prince.
You kidding?
Nope. And she takes this as like a huge sign from the universe. Like, don't worry, girl, everything's going to be okay.
I mean, that's definitely a story that really fits the whole manifestation idea, right?
Yeah.
Like you put a specific intention out there and bam, it happens. You also have to think about how many people are on social media. Like statistically, weird stuff is bound to happen sometimes just by pure chance.
Yeah, that's true. But she does make an interesting comparison with an ex-boyfriend that she says she manifested. She says that time she didn't have as many specific qualities in mind, and that relationship wasn't that great. So it's like she learned that the more specific your intention is, the better the result.
It's a cool idea, but it's hard to know for sure if it's true or if she's just remembering things that fit the narrative. Like maybe she's focusing on the times when it worked and forgetting the times when it didn't.
Right. Okay, so one thing that comes up a lot in these stories is this idea that she's a lucky person. Like, she genuinely believes that she's lucky, and she says other people have always told her that too. And she thinks that belief is a big reason why she wins competitions and stuff.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Yeah, kind of. Like, if you believe you're lucky, you're probably more likely to take risks and keep going when things are tough.
And you're more likely to see positive things as proof of your luck.
Exactly. And she's so convinced that she's going to start playing the lottery.
Oh, wow. Well, statistically speaking, the odds aren't great no matter how lucky you feel.
True. All right, let's talk about manifesting material things. So she says she made a Pinterest board with this very specific shock miss dress. It was sold out and super expensive. And then like 6 months later, she randomly finds it on sale online in her size.
No way.
I know. But she ends up not buying it because it wasn't practical for her life.
Interesting. So even though she manifested it, she still made a choice.
Yeah. Like the opportunity was there, but she didn't have to take it.
Makes you think about free will and all that.
Totally.
Did it?
She also talks about manifesting her ex back, which she says was not a good thing.
Oh, so a manifestation that worked but wasn't good in the end.
Exactly. And she's like, don't try to get your ex back, guys. It's not worth it.
So even if you can manifest something, it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. Good point. So something else that's a big part of her belief system is synchronicities and what she calls angel numbers.
Like seeing repeating numbers and stuff?
Yep. Like 111 or whatever.
Mm.
And she thinks those are signs from a higher power that she's on the right path, especially when she's trying to manifest something.
I mean, our brains are wired to look for patterns, right? So it makes sense that those things would jump out at us, especially if we already believe in that stuff.
Right. And she gives a bunch of examples, like seeing her ex's name everywhere after they break up, hearing his favorite songs, a song playing on shuffle that she was just thinking about getting a collab request from a YouTuber. She was talking about a sponsorship offer for long-lasting roses the day after she was wishing for forever flowers.
It's like all those little coincidences that feel so weird when they happen. But I guess it depends on your perspective, right? Some people just be like, whatever. But if you believe in manifestation, it all seems super meaningful.
Exactly. She also mentions this thing about things coming full circle, like past crushes, even celebrities showing interest eventually. And she says she can't share details, but it adds to this idea that what you put out there comes back to you.
Like your energy attracts certain things.
Yeah, kind of. And that brings us to a big point she makes. The power of what we say and think. She truly believes that words have power to shape reality, both good and bad. Like she even says, watch what you say, and gives an example of how negative self-talk can lead to bad things happening.
Interesting. It's like the idea of self-fulfilling prophecies,
Mm-hmm.
If you keep telling yourself you're going to fail, you probably will.
Right. And she takes it a step further, saying that even negative thoughts can have consequences, like karma, almost.
So it's all connected. Your thoughts, words, actions, the world around you.
Yeah. And finally, she says that manifestation isn't something you just do with certain techniques. It's happening all the time based on your thoughts. So controlling your thoughts is key to creating the life you want. And she makes this cool analogy comparing our minds to our bodies. Like, we need to feed our minds good stuff just like we need to eat healthy food. She's like, social media is junk food for your mind.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And she mentions how subconscious thoughts come out when you're drunk or high, too.
Yep. So basically, we've gone through a ton of different experiences here, career signs, messages from royalty-winning games, you name it. And it's all seen through this lens of manifestation, like this belief that our thoughts, intentions, words, even luck can really shape what happens to us.
Right. But we have to remember that these are just her interpretations of these events. The coincidences might have happened, but the meaning she gives them is based on her beliefs.
Mhm.
It just shows how much we want to find patterns and connect the dots in our lives, especially when those connections fit with what we want to believe.
For sure. So our final thought for you today is this. After hearing all these crazy stories, do any of them resonate with you? Like, do you think our thoughts and beliefs can really affect our lives? Have you ever had any crazy coincidences that made you wonder?
Yeah, I think this whole deep dive really makes you think about the power of our minds. Even if you don't buy into manifestation, it's interesting to consider how our thoughts and expectations might be shaping our reality in ways we don't even realize.
Definitely something to think about.